And finally we go to the asset area. This relates to the asset manager. These are actually very important, and these really you should never change in the middle of a show. You've got to make the determination as to how you're going to work early on. When you're making an asset, they always start with a model. These are where you change the workflow settings. So right here we've got the different asset workflows that are available. One is what I would call a linear flow, which is where you start with one component type, move to the next, and then move to the next. And each component type is either referencing or importing the previous component type in the flow. The other way to work is called a parallel flow, which is where you're going to create your model first, and then both the surface and the puppet are merely going to be pulling the model in. If you're going to be referencing or importing, that's completely up to you. And that you'd be setting here. So the puppet, for example, default-wise equals the reference of the surface, and the surface equals the reference of the model. Now, you can change these to import, and if you wanted to make them both parallel, then they are here. Puppet is importing the model, and the surface is importing the model. If you want to make it linear, then now you start off with the model, and then the puppet imports the model, and then the surface imports the puppet. So you've got to get the model done, the puppet done, and then the surface done. The components reference with namespaces is that if you are actually referencing, if you're referencing in your workflow, you'll make your model for a character, and let's say it'll come in normally. The models will come in standard. When you then reference in the model, it'll come in with the model namespace, so it'll be model : and then whatever the names are of all the assets. Then after you complete the puppet and go to the surface, the model will be coming in with the namespace puppet : model, and the puppet will be coming in with the namespace of puppet. It ensures that there's no conflicts, but you get some very, very long names. If you would like to work that way, that's your option there. Now, regarding textures, when you save an asset, it actually, Plumber, when you save a surfaced asset, let me see if we have one that's got surfaced. I believe we do. Oh yes, our snowman is actually surfaced. So let's just open this version. And now, when Plumber saves an asset that has textures assigned to it, it actually copies those texture files into the show, and under the asset there's a textures directory. What this setting is if it is saving a version of this, will it checks to see if the texture already exists. If it does exist, should it overwrite it, or should it merely keep the pre-existing one? There's then the browser startup with images or notes. All that means is that then when you start Plumber, is it gonna, and you go to the asset editor, if it's set to notes, it will only show the notes initially, as this does. And you can always change to images. If it's set to images on startup, it'll start up showing the images. Then finally, there's the asset type. You can add multiple asset types here. These are what I consider to be most effective. You can delete anyone, including set assets. I would strongly suggest that you don't delete set assets, because they're very unique, they allow you to take advantage of certain things. So your options are, of course, apply and quit. So right now, if I were to hit apply and quit, bing, it would make all those changes. If I were to go revert, it would revert back. But again, if I deleted characters right now, like that, and then when apply and quit, it would delete these characters. So even if I chose to revert back, the characters would be gone, but the character type would be there. These assets would disappear because I've deleted them. So be very, very careful when deleting stuff, especially after a show has started. There's the defaults. And finally, if you don't want to make any changes, just click that. And that's the preferences of Plumber as of today.